Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gents. Yes, that time of day again, we are back and we are live. And I'm coming to you from the KBS HQ right here under the Data Dome of Smart City Glasgow, the home of COP26. Yes, indeed. And the little Swedish doom goblin is still in town. Yes, Greta Thunberg is still here. And I'm delighted. I'm more delighted to have all of you tuned in today, all the way from America to Australia and just about everywhere in between. And we do that thanks to Truth Frequency Radio, TFRlive.com. And of course, we're going out on Twitch TV. We're also going out on Odyssey. I didn't mean it to rhyme, but it does. And I was getting ready today to come on, take it nice and easy, chill out, chillax, little solo show, a random news kind of day, random woo kind of day. It's still going to be random news, it's still going to be random woo, but I have got somebody riding shotgun with me, and no, it's not GD Bakshi, not yet. It's Jimmy Jeans. There he is, the man himself. How you doing, Jimbo?
I'm doing fantastic. How about you? It's raining here in California. And
Well, talking of raining, I had to rein you in right before we went on air there, man. Come on, Jimmy, what's wrong? Get it off your chest. 'Cause you need to purge. There's anger flying, man. I could feel you getting angry, dude. What's happened in the world?
well, I mean, there's nothing really new has happened. It's just that, I've been putting up with stuff, now for a couple of years now. And it doesn't seem to be getting any better. And it only seems to be getting worse, And the thing is I try to keep a lot of my personal feelings out of the stuff that we talk about. You know what I mean? I try to talk about it, but I don't try to get involved in it personally, because I can't take this stuff personally. Because if I do, it's not good emotionally or healthy for people to take stories personally. Okay, but it's starting to get to a point now where it's bordering on ridiculous. There's no reason for a lot of what's going on, and it just keeps going and going and going, and we're all just sitting here talking about what's going on, and really we're narrating the destruction basically, because obviously, if I said what I felt inside, they'd probably come and knock on my door, because they would accuse me of inciting people, and so I'm just trying to keep it on the DL, man, today, and because there may be some planets in play, and and I just want to try to chill for the next couple of days here and try to keep myself out of getting in any kind of situations.
Well, what kind of planetary shenanigans are afoot? I know you sent me something before the show. I didn't get a chance to take a look at it.
Yeah, well,
I'm
basically
somebody I've been burned in the past, Jimmy. I used to laugh at retrograde, Mercury retrograde, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one weekend in particular, there was me, Joe Joseph, and Scotty Lopez. We'd all laughed about Mercury retrograde on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time Monday rolled around, I don't think any of us had one functioning PC between us. So I learned to wind my neck in when it comes to the kind of stuff, when it comes to planetary activity.
Mm-hmm.
And its effect on the human psyche and on electronics. So what have we got going on just now, man?
Well, it's just that there's an alignment coming up between Mars and Saturn. Supposedly Mars squares Saturn, and so when you think about the planet Mars and the planet Saturn, coming in, squaring off against each other, and the two, the planets, the qualities that they have. Like, for example, I got some stuff here I could read out on it. Hang on a second.
Go for it, man.
This here, just in particular, it says, color of Mars is red and is considered furious and masculine planet by nature, and in horoscope planets rules courage, confidence. Occupation wise, Mars represents military, soldiers, warriors, builders, engineers, real estate, blah, 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 blah. So it says police, military, and paramilitary departments also come under the influence of Mars. This also governs technical and engineering field. A person with good Mars is bound to have excellent qualities and be a technical mind. Martians prefer arguments and are short-tempered. So, I mean, that's the planet Mars coming up squaring against Saturn, right? So everybody's always talking about Saturn in relation to the elite and the Saturnalian Brotherhood. And so it says, I mean, Saturn here, let me see if I can pull up here on Saturn. This says Saturn believes in discipline and strictness, never likes chaos, and disobeys. In Hindu astrology, Saturn has great significance. People are afraid of this planet due to its strictness and its discipline. Slow transit of this planet offers two important common periods, namely, let's see here. Yeah, so basically, what we see here is, you know, the authority figures, and we see Mars, and we see a lot of people, upset right now. You know, there's people, you know, rebelling against what's going on all over the world. Man, maybe this is a confrontational point. Maybe this is a flashpoint. I don't know, but I do know this. I mean, I'm just saying. Today just happened to be the day that I just saw the one story that just made me, you know, that just got me angry, man. You know, I took it personally because I can't stand to sit here and watch the dismantling of America right before my eyes, man. You know, I mean, yesterday. I mean, I don't want to get pissed, okay? But listen, yesterday or the day before...
Do it, man. Do it. Everyone wants to see Jenny pissed. Come on, man.
They asked this woman about what Biden was going to do about the price of gas, and she laughed, man. She literally just went... You got to be kidding me. What are you going to do about the price of gas? He's closing down another pipeline now. So, I mean, what is that going to do to the price of gas? Do you know, people don't realize that the infrastructure bill has, you know, barely anything to do with infrastructure and almost everything to do with the administration of the New World Order. Everything in that thing is going to shred everything you've known in America. It's over, man. I'm telling you right now, they're taxed by the mile. Gas will be $10 a gallon. You won't fly anywhere. You know, you're going to build some new bridges. Yeah, okay. All right, thanks, man. Appreciate it. What else is in there? I mean, go take a look at it. I think there's a whole bunch of Codex Alimentarius stuff in there where you won't be able to go buy natural remedies over the counter anymore. You have to go down and get a prescription for it. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff in there. You know, it's no joke. So $1 trillion. Tasty. I'm sure we'll have a lot of good things to say. I mean, the people that have been put into this Biden administration, the decisions that they're making, the ridiculous stuff that gets said around the world and in our country about what's going on here, to the point where literally Ted Cruz is saying that they hold their ability to secede from the country if they continue to destroy America today. So Texas...
Why don't you go to Texas, dude? That could be the thing. We've seen Musk going there. We see a lot of people going there. Is that the way that America's going, man? Is it going to... Look, remember, was it a few months ago? Me and you had a conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was around the time that the Americans had the debacle of the withdrawal from Afghanistan. And I can't remember where I heard it or where I've seen it pointed out. But if we look back in time, in history, not even too far,
mm-hmm.
I remember the time when the Berlin Wall came down and the Soviet Union split up.
Mm-hmm.
And that came only a couple of years after they had their inconvenient, untimely debacle of a withdrawal from Afghanistan,
mm-hmm.
right? We often talk about history repeating itself, things like that.
Yeah.
We also know that the New World Order is very, very close, and to have a global utopia, their idea, not mine, folks, but their idea. You have to bring down that one major kind of focal superpower in the world that's still out there. And I'm wondering, Jimmy, I'm
Mm.
wondering, we talked about it, maybe it was me and Scott, I'm not sure. I'm sure the audience will remember.
No, we talked
But
about it.
could we be seeing history about to not repeat itself exactly, but it certainly seems to have a little echo about it, right?
Well, you're in luck, my man, because we just did a show about 2, 3 weeks ago about the fall of the Soviet Union and what happened to it, and it's because it's the same exact thing that's happening in America now. So it's in reverse. So America is going through what the Soviet Union went through when the wall came down and the Soviet Union was dismantled. So the main cause of death in the Soviet Union for the decade after the wall came down was suicide, because people couldn't handle a lot of what was going on, the changing of the country into something that it wasn't before. But one of the key moments we found out and doing the thing was, well, and it was really why I started the show in the first place, is because I wanted to point out that the unions in Poland were really instrumental in the beginning of bringing down that wall. And the way they did it was fax machines. That's how people got news around to each other back then. You couldn't get news, so what they would do is they would fax one paper to somebody, and then they would tell 10 people, and so on and so forth. And so they basically used fax machines to bring to bring down the Soviet Union, believe it or not. Low tech. AFL-CIO in America, the unions over here sent fax machines over there to help them out. But there was a couple of things we noticed too, Kev, which was the Pope had gotten shot. The Pope was trying to help the Polish Union because at the time that was a Polish Pope. What we found out is the Pope was, when we found out that he was assassinated, and his assassinator was some person that was involved in quite a bit of nefarious activity and had just been released from prison. Right when that happened. Also, the other person who was also involved with that particular Pope, and that was the Pope who knew the 3 secrets of Fatima, was why it ties in. Is why I brought it into the show, is because that Pope, he was the one who knew the 3 secrets of Fatima. And so he knew that in the 3rd secret, in the secrets, that it talked about the communism, and it talked about the Soviet Union. They made it mean the Soviet Union. I don't know if specifically, I can't quote it specifically on what exactly it said, but basically it had to do with communism, and they wanted to stop communism. And so because of the 3rd secret, so they figured if they could stop communism, the 3rd secret wouldn't happen. Okay, so he went to work against with Poland, supporting that, and then also Ronald Reagan supported that Pope. Ronald Reagan also got shot around that, right? So back to the Soviet Union, when it fell, it looked just like America looks right now, about to fall. Like to me, it looks like we've been sold out, and they're just coming in and. How they sell off the assets or whatever. And we're all just standing around watching everything go on. When we wake up and snap out of it, it's going to be too late. It'll be too late. So, I mean, I don't know if it's like a runaway train at this point. So, the Soviet...
Male team.
Sorry, Jim.
No,
Sorry.
no worries. No, so the Soviet Union and America and the... other part of this, Kev, was that what happened then was when the Soviet Union fell, America was left standing there, just like in the Olympics, we would go against the Soviet Union. It'd always be the battle between America and the Soviet Union. America and the Soviet Union always had the best technology, the biggest, strongest weightlifters, everybody, best teams, best hockey, all this. But so when the Soviet Union,
steroid program,
exactly, best psychotronic warfare program. I mean, all this stuff was going on. But the thing was, though, when the Soviet Union fell, what this America and the rest of the world did was point at it and say, "See, communism doesn't work. Look." Communism is a failure. They couldn't stand up against the mighty power of the capitalist world, and they must fall. So they fell. But meanwhile, China was over there, forging a new communism, that kind of looks like capitalism, but it's still communism. And, they run everything, but it looks like you're free, but you're not really free you're free until they say you're not. And you never know when that's going to be. It's like being in a relationship with somebody that gets set off. You never know what that thing's going to be. Burn the toast. You know what I mean? You never know what's going to happen. But China's over there quietly doing their thing. Meanwhile, everybody's thinking that communism's been thwarted and the wall came down or whatever. Everybody, hangs their hat on the wall coming down. And now, what's going to happen when the United States go down is China is going to be there in chorus with all the rest of the other people, and they're all going to go, see that's America didn't work. Freedom just doesn't work. Freedom never works.
How does the song go, Jimmy? Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose.
Exactly, man. No, seriously, though, they are going to point at it, and they're going to say, look, see, America's system didn't work. They were greedy, they were, just do whatever they want. Look at them, we can't have that anymore. We need to have a mellow world, a world that's more utopia-like, Kev, America's just messing everything up for the rest of the world, aren't they?
Stop making me feel guilty about having a good day, dude. Stop it. Stop it. I had a conversation with a good friend at the weekend about this as well.
Mm-hmm.
I was saying, some days I look at the social media, I look at the news, I look at what people are saying in general, and so many people losing it. Like you were saying at the start of the show today, and it's almost got me feeling guilty because, again, a lot of the time, because I'm housebound, Jim, I suppose I'm in a bit of an isolatory bubble, right? But at the same time, I'm still not letting it all get to me. I don't know how I found a way of coping, because this is like the maddest time I've ever been alive.
It's crazy.
Even I'm questioning how I haven't lost my mind yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you something, dude. I had a story pulled up for, like I was saying to the audience, it was going to be a solo day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is true synchronicity. Because one of my stories I had pulled up was from Futurism. And it goes a little something like this. Murders have spiked in major US cities since the pandemic. Now, you could look at it as Doc McCairn might say, impulse control disorders starting to spike, make people do what they're not doing. But I think the major contributing factor to it is just the way life is at the moment. Just people being wound up, being gaslit, being taken to the point where they do lose it. And I think a lot of it is by design. I truly, truly do. And when I say it's by design, that's not to say that the problems that people are facing, myself included, aren't real. But the way people are losing it, Jimmy, and like you said, that woman that was laughing about the gas prices, I seen that clip. And that to me is just like laughing in the face of Americans. And what's the agenda there? What's the reason for that? The reason, I believe, my opinion, is to make people feel exactly the way you're feeling right now. Just to get angrier and angrier and build it up and build it up. And then we're going to get to the flashpoint of the election from America's point of view. And that, for me, is horrendous to think about. But I could be wrong, dude. I could be wrong. I'm not in America. I'm a casual quantum observer.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you, I saw this thing earlier, piece of news earlier with these Chinese kindergartners and standing in line. There's like 50 or 60 of them in line, and they all had their QR codes around their neck. Okay? That's the kind of stuff, man, that's, making the situation get a little bit tense. So, I mean, I can see. That's why I was bringing that up, the Saturn-Mars thing. In the next 40 hours, man, watch out. I'm just saying. Anybody could go off, just take it easy, man. If the situation gets weird or volatile, just chill, You can come back and fight, right. You know what I mean? You can fight another day, but today and the next couple of days, just be careful. Because, man, this is 2021, man. I mean, people literally, they're people were getting butchered in some... Look, I saw a thing yesterday. 50 people were shot and 8 people were killed in Chicago. I mean, that's a normal day in Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago's crazy, dude. Like it's been crazy. It's been getting crazier and crazier and crazier. It's. So what in your opinion sets that apart from other American cities? Because there seems to be a real like a bigger problem there than most.
Well, I mean, from a regular
Is it a socio-economic thing? Is it just that crazy people are born in Illinois? Is the Mothman having an effect? I'm throwing that in to
could.
kind of take your steam down a bit. Dude.
Well, I mean,
you know, I'm trying to calm my mate here. But what do you think could be contributing to that?
this is Chicago has got a long history, dude, in America. I mean, I could go into some of it, and I wouldn't mind doing it.
Dude, because I like to learn, and
Well,
I'm not in
okay,
America.
so
You know, and I'm looking at Chicago all the time, and it's crazy town, man.
well, for the first part of it, what you should think about is the fact that there's black prisons there in America. And that's where some of the black prisons are. And when I say black prisons, I mean they're the ones where you go in, nobody knows you're in there. Nobody knows when you go, when you come, how you're going to leave. If you could come out with a toe on your tag or a tag on your toe.
Is it next to Obama's favorite bathhouse?
It could be. It could be. You know, but that was
down the stairs from it, right?
Well, actually, that was actually, you know, that you bring that up. That Rahm Emanuel moment where he came in, that was a really key moment because up until that point, there was a different mafia run in Chicago. Okay, and so when Rahm Emanuel came in, it was a whole new mafia came in, and I think the guy from Chicago ended up in the White House for a moment, if I'm not mistaken, in that same sort of transaction where Rahm Emanuel moved in. I think some guy from Chicago ended up in the White House for a minute, but then he got kicked to the curb. But so there's a lot of gang activity, obviously, in Chicago. Right, so there's even been there's been cases that have been exposed where these railroad cars would be brought into Chicago to the rail yards, and they would just leave the doors open on them, and then there's a giant crates of firearms all inside of these trains and inside these train cars, and they would just somebody would make a phone call, and before you know it, these gangs would just descend on these train cars and steal everything that was inside of them. And that had to do with how did the guns get in the train cars? Nobody knows whose they were. Why didn't they get to where they were going? Because they got stolen when they ended up in Chicago magically. So I had brought this up on a show with Billy Ray, and he had. I can't remember this guy. He used to come on and show this wrestling guy. But anyways, he lived in Chicago, and he actually said when I brought it up on the show, he goes, I can verify that. I was riding my bicycle by there one day, and I saw exactly what you're talking about. So I mean, it's the wild, wild west of Chicago. But I mean, realistically,
like the east end of Glasgow, man. We don't like the area I live in.
Mm-hmm.
Like we recently went to order like white goods and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of companies, Jimmy, won't even come into the east end of Glasgow. I mean, it's not guns getting robbed, admittedly, but it's crazy town. If we had guns here, and there is the odd illegal gun kicking about, don't get me wrong, right? It's not as if you don't ever get shootings, right? But if we had like the gun stuff that you had going on, I fear what the east end of Glasgow would look like, dude. The weekends would probably be on a par. Maybe that's what you're talking about over there,
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly like a setup, too, because you have all these cops and all these fire people and all these other people in the city system and county system that don't want to take part in the experiment. And so because they don't, they're being regulated out of their own job. So Chicago is right now in the middle of a big thing where a lot of the police officers there, the cops, they're not coming to work, man, because they have to have a certain proof when they get there, and they don't have it, and they're not planning on getting it. So what's going to happen across America? I mean, this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the dismantling of America, man. That's what I'm saying. Because all of these things that happen, it's like they're happening, but it's like, oh well, you know, stuff happens. And then eventually things will get out of control. What will they do? They'll say, you know what? Let's get rid of this whole thing where the city and the county and the state's responsible for their police. Let's just hire corporate companies that are like Blackwater to be police departments. That way they
Well,
can take
hold
the
that
lot.
thought, Jim. Hold
Yeah.
that thought because we are hard on the break and we'll come back on the other side. We'll discuss more about this and we'll get into the fact that I haven't been triggered too much today, despite it being Gender Day at COP26. Yes, we'll be back on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. There we go. Jimmy, I'm going to get a quick drink of
Yeah,
coffee.
yeah.
We'll shove
No
on some
worries. Yeah.
crappy tunes.
Yeah, throw
And
in
then we'll
some.
be back
Yeah, throw in
afterwards.
some
How's
too.
that sound, man?
Sweet.
Sweet. Dang, this random news and Woo Day is turning into a good one, folks. It's always the shows that are unplanned that tend to just boom. It goes off in style, and I can feel it. It's building up to a good one. Hit like, hit share if you're over there on, well, there's no like on Twitch, admittedly. See, I'm still getting used to Twitch, folks. Share it out, get people over here. We need more. A little bit of reggae, Jimbo, you know? Like we're on Speculation Island now, man. Dang, dude.
Nice.
Yes, we are our own genre of show, talking to the people over in disco. Absolutely. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you folks. I'm telling you. Ah, yes, we are back again, ladies and gentlemen. Second part of today's Kev Baker show. It was thrown together at the last minute. Jimmy had messaged me over on Skype earlier on, told me he was at the studio all day. But I have had a busy day. I've been watching documentaries, and one of these documentaries ties into what you're saying. I'll get to that in a moment. But I was also doing a bit of gaming, or trying to do a bit of gaming. The latest Forza driving game has come out, and it is an exquisite graphical experience. However, I'm trying to play an Xbox game on a PC with a PS5 controller. There's issues, so I'm going to get that all sorted. But yes, I'm here with Jimmy Jeans today. People thinking, what's Kev talking about? I just, whatever's on my mind, folks. We're our own thing around here. We don't stick to any cookie cutter kind of template. You get it. It's real. It's raw. And today it's with Jimmy Jeans. And Jimmy, you were talking, and we were talking before the break, and it never even occurred to me at the time. But thinking about it more during the break there, this trying to wind people up, especially like if we focus on America, taking people to the brink.
Mm-hmm.
Watching a documentary, right? The Last Narco, it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about the DEA when they were down taking on the cartels and the kidnapping and murder of a DEA agent called Kiko. I can't remember his second name. It begins with an M.
Mm-hmm.
And there's interviewing this cop that investigated the case, and they show you the three Mexican guys that were in the police that ended up in the cartel, and they had information. They turned them into witness protection, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But episode 4, it takes a really kind of different twist, because they start talking about this Cuban guy, this Cuban-looking gentleman that was always kicking about, taking bags of money away, delivering guns. He was even at the torture of this DEA agent. Long story short, it's a CIA agent, and it starts to talk about Iran-Contra, and it starts to talk about the drug running, the fact that the American government, they knew fine well what was going on down in Mexico. The Mexican government knew fine well. Really, really exposing the kind of corruption that we've talked about here on the show before. I've had Gene Chip Tatum on the show, one of the pilots for the Iran-Contra stuff. So it's not as if this was new information to me. But the investigating officer was asked, he says, why are you coming forward with this story now? And he says in the documentary, because I need to get it off my chest, I just want to get it out there. I'm getting older now. They'll do to me what they do to me. But then I'm thinking, when you're talking about all of this, you getting triggered, people in America getting wound up, it's just another layer of the gaslighting, really, because it's showing a whole new, probably, generation of Americans in a Netflix show. An Amazon Prime documentary. There's probably a lot of people, for the first time maybe, even learning about the corruption that's involved with the American government. And when I'm talking about corruption within the American government, don't think I'm naive, folks. All governments are corrupt, right? But again, it's this building into the picture of chaos, people losing faith in the system. Like you were saying, this capitalist way. Look at the way these governments work. Has to come down. We need something new, right? I know it sounds a bit out there, but again, just maybe it's because of what we've been talking about. I'm seeing this documentary, that one last bit, in a different light, where it was exposing all of the corruption that goes on, dude.
Well, the thing, what thing is that the corruption's been there in the past, but it's like at the same time, it was like we're allowing people to fill their pockets as long as they had our back. Okay? But they don't have our back anymore. It's like there's enemies walking the halls of my government. Okay? There's people out there that are actively doing their best to jam up the economy, to mess Americans up, and to make them... Listen, you know what the absolute worst thing for American people is? It's the secret tax. Okay? It's called inflation. Man, listen, it's to the point where they're gonna. I'm just making this up right now off the top of my head. I've not looked into this. Okay, I'm making it up. But if it comes true, you heard it here first. They're probably gonna put little tags on the food so that they can change the price. Okay, by the day or by the hour. I mean, there's been places where hyperinflation was in effect, and you had to sit there. They would write the prices in chalk because they would change it every 15 minutes because the price of that currency was, the buying power of the currency was zero. I mean, down in Venezuela right now, you know how you buy your stuff? Believe it or not, scraping little chunks of gold off stuff and scraping little pieces of silver. Yeah, that's how it's going down, man. Wow. I mean, hey, man. Well, how do people have a positive attitude about the future? Okay, I'm telling you right now. I seriously, I feel that people that are in positions of power in this government are working against the American people. And I think the American people, all they have to do is take a look around and ask yourself a question. Okay, who's in charge of you? Okay, do you belong to the federal government? Because they told you better stand down, man. You better roll up your sleeve and take one for the team, man. See? Huh? No, that's not how it works. And you're not going to tell my children to go do it either.
Jimmy, what if I was to tell you, right? What if I was to tell you, if you were to go to Vienna, you'd not only get, well, listen, I'll bring up the headline, right? I was trying to think of a funny way of putting it. Well, put it this way. If you go to a brothel in Vienna, it's not just one thing that's getting jabbed.
No.
Right? Look at this.
Get out of here.
Vienna brothel offers customers 30 minutes with a lady of their choice in exchange for the coronavirus.
Oh, so that's great.
Yeah.
So now
listen, this isn't a wacky website. Well, I suppose it is. It's Sky News. It's like one of our mainstream ones. So, yes, there you go.
So, man, if I roll up my sleeve, I can get a beer, a donut, and a piece of ass, man. Whoa, I'm living in utopia, man.
Yeah, man. Listen, we've got it. We're all just going to go to, we'll all just go to Vienna. I'm joking, folks. But a brothel, well, I'm not joking about the story. A brothel in Vienna is providing COVID-19 vaccinations and giving those who take up the offer vouchers for a free visit. A jab in the arm and a happy ending, Jimmy, eh? Yep.
Man, I'm going to go.
In exchange for a jab, visitors get a free 30-minute session in a sauna club with a lady of their choice. Vaccination uptake levels in Austria are amongst the worst in Western Europe, leading the government to introduce tighter restrictions. Roughly 64% of Austria's population is fully vaccinated against COVID-19, and those who are unjabbed are now banned from visiting cafes, restaurants, and hairdressers.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. A lot of hairy men over there in Austria.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Not. Maybe they'll be getting their hair cut again now because they can get a happy ending beforehand, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm prepared to be a moving target for the next car as I step off the curb. But I'll tell you right now, there is never a reason to put a needle in a healthy child's arm. Period. None. Why is there 30 or some odd vaccinations in a baby, man? Do you think this shit has gone too far? I do. I've gotten to that point, man. I have. It's gone too far. And everybody else who's kept their mouth shut better start speaking up.
He's as mad as
I'll
hell.
bet you, you know what? I've never done it, but I'll bet you could look back at children and you could look back at health problems, and I'll guarantee you, if you look back there's going to be some synchronicity between when all these vaccinations became indoor. Look, my mom took me down there, okay, for my polio vaccine, just like everybody else's mom did. There's cancer in there, man. They admitted it. People my age, 3 out of 4 people get cancer. Okay, I got cancer. What are the odds, man? Man, people better wake up because it's almost too late. It's almost too late. Because when they can tell you to roll up your arm and do what they're telling you to do, then the next time when they come around, they're going to tell you you're too old. You're too a draw on the system. Greta and her crowd, the Extinction Rebellion, they're all going to be in administrative positions over your health system. And then you're going to say, you're just dragging us down, man. You're breathing in, you're breathing out. You're driving your cars, man. You're in the old school. You're driving them cars, man. You got to go. 65, that's it. Go over there, leave a nice tape for your relatives, and stick out your arm and say goodbye. Because that's exactly the same power you're giving this government right now. The end.
Well said, Jimmy Jeans. Can we get you on fire like this more often, man? I like a passionate Jimmy.
There's always a seething fire going on inside me, man. I just keep, like I say, I keep what
like me, you found a coping mechanism, dude. Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's why my clock's always at 4:20, my friend.
Right as well. Yes, you mentioned Greta there.
Yeah.
I've seen a funny headline today, dude. To try and cheer you up a little bit. I know, listen, I ain't going to be able to cure all the problems in the world that are giving you troubles right now. I wish I could. I wish I had a magic wand. I wish I had a 10-step plan for us to turn all this around. And if I ever do have one, folks, I'll share it with you. But for now, Jimmy, let's take a look at one little headline that caught my attention today, right? I think you'll like this. But says here, Jeremy Clarkson, 61, is branded creepy after saying climate activist Greta Thunberg, 18, deserves a smacked bottom. And that's not the bit that made me laugh. For being an annoying little bucket of ego during COP26. And again, that kind of made me laugh, but it's this bit here. He also called her a pest and said that she was worse than a, quote, Swedish doom goblin. Now, I've never heard of any type of Swedish doom goblin before, but I'm definitely going to be using that term when it comes to Greta, right?
Oh, man, yeah, that's perfect.
And you're muted, man.
I was laughing out loud. I said, that's perfect, man.
A little doom goblin.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's what she is. I'll try and play a little bit of her, but I tried this earlier on and it's really quiet. But this was one of the speeches that she gave, literally, Jimmy, about 500 meters from where I'm sitting right now, right? I knew there was a disturbance in my force that day. Here we go. We'll take a listen to her.
It should be obvious that we cannot solve a crisis the same methods that got us into it in the first place. And more people are starting to realize
it's just way too low. It's like not even making it halfway up my audio bar. It's pumped up to the max. Hang on. I might be able to pump up a little bit here. Let's try that.
Many are starting to ask themselves, what will it take
there we go.
for the people in power to wake up? But let's be clear. They are already awake. They know exactly what they are doing. They know exactly what priceless values they are sacrificing to maintain business as usual. The leaders are not doing nothing. They are actively creating loopholes and shaping frameworks to benefit themselves and to continue profiting from this destructive system. This is an active choice by the leaders to continue to let the exploitation of people and nature and the destruction of present and future living conditions to take place.
Buy a PS5 or something, Greta, for goodness sake. Yeah, man.
The COP has turned into a PR event where leaders are giving beautiful speeches and announcing fancy commitments and targets, while behind the curtains, the governments of the global north countries are still refusing to take any drastic climate action. It seems like their main goal is to continue to fight for the status quo. And COP26 has been named the most exclusionary COP ever. This is no longer a climate conference. This is now a global North greenwash festival.
Yeah, cheers for that. Enough of the little Swedish doom goblin. Enough of her, Jimmy. Enough of her. Yeah.
Well, I mean...
Well, can I trigger you some more? This might add to your sense of
what I was gonna...
going on in the world. On you go.
No, I was just gonna say. See, I mean, a lot of what she was saying there makes sense. She is telling it like it is. Okay, that is what the governments do. They don't do anything. It doesn't matter. I'm not interested in anything being done as far as the climate is concerned, because the stuff that's being done as a result of what they want to do because of the climate is exactly the same. The whole most of the world runs on fossil fuel. So I mean, and it's everywhere. It's in places people don't even realize it's. I mean, people don't realize it's in the plastic bottle that your water drink. You're drinking your water out of. It's made out of oil. Not saying we should stay on oil, but I'm saying if you're going to make a transition, it can't be a sudden transition to where everybody especially the production engines of the world run on oil. Okay, if you shut down my oil, then you pinch my ability and my capacity to produce. See? And that is exactly why China said, were they at the COP? No. No, they weren't. And you know why? Because you can't stifle the production engine with these measures. Because the whole world everything's produced this way. You want to stop producing everything? Go ahead. I mean, we can do that.
My question to the people that organise the COP26 is, what on earth's name has gender got to do with the climate? Because today is focus on gender as a giant puppet takes the center stage, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's basically it's Gender Day at the climate conference. Gender and climate.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I'm not an intelligent guy. I get that. I don't see the connection here.
Well, it's social.
Man.
It's social engineering, dude, because it's the crowd around the Extinction Rebellion is being socially engineered around that right now. So that by the time the Extinction Rebellions they get to be 25, 30 years old, the world's gonna look like a whole different place.
You're right there. Let me read a little bit of this, then you can take it further.
Yeah,
right?
man.
It says here, the inequalities that make women and girls more vulnerable to the effects of climate change are high on the agenda today. Who knew? Who knew? And you know what? It's so ironic that the person that kicked off that Women's Rights Day and all this talk about women and inequalities at COP26 was Nicola Sturgeon, a person who hates being the gender that she has to identify as, and is an absolute. She's living a lie. She can't even dude. It's like the irony in her speaking about the inequalities for women is it's off the chart. It's peak craziness. Okay, peak craziness. It says they form a large majority of the world's poor, often dependent on small-scale farming for their livelihoods. The UK government is set to announce 165 million to tackle climate change while addressing and empowering women to take climate action. Now, I love women. You know me. You're the same, Jimmy. We're big lovers, big respecters of women. But what is this all about? It says, and we can expect an appearance from Little Amal, a giant puppet of the 10-year-old Syrian refugee meeting activists from other countries through which she walked during a 4-month, 8,000-kilometer journey from the Syrian border. So they've got this creepy big puppet that's going about as the face of this inequality towards women and climate change. And I'm lost for words. It's peak crazy, dude. It's the world has lost its mind.
The thing is, I was thinking about it yesterday a little bit because, it used to be there'd be a major story, every week. There'd be some major thing that was taking over the airwaves or whatever. But since I would say, I don't know, man. Let's just say 4 or 5 years. Let's call it 5 years. the news has been getting more and more every day. So, instead of there being one story a week, then there was 2 stories a week. And then there was 3, and then there was 4, and then there was 5. There was one major happening every single day. Okay, and then it started to go more than one a day to a point where it's reached this fever pitch where the onslaught is just non-stop, man. Stuff that's going on, major things happening, but there's so many things happening. It's almost impossible for you to single that thing out, focus on it, and do something about it.
Cytokine storm of craziness upon you, man.
Yeah, because you can't pull one thing out of it. Stop everything around you to pull that thing out and say, wait a minute, hold on, we're not okay with this. Pull this over here. Let's talk about it, because it's just like a runaway train, man. It's like ever since the election, it's like the system and the administration have just kept going no matter what you say. No matter what anybody says, they just keep on going. They keep saying the same thing over and over again. No matter what you say, they don't agree with you. They don't say anything about you. They just keep saying what they say. And here we are, because we got to march. At what point do people start marching along with the big voice coming out of the sky? We better march over there. Better put on your earplugs, put on your eye shades. Where to put the cork, man. I don't know, Kev. The onslaught is like, and so I do my best to avoid it. Okay,
well,
I'm not.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to take it even crazier, right? Even crazier, dude. In Scotland, I got very triggered yesterday, man. Very triggered, and I shouldn't have, because, like you said at the start of the show, we shouldn't take these things personally, and a lot of these things are out there just to gaslight us anyway. But I'm going to play a clip that I shared on Twitter yesterday, and this will give you an idea of what's going on in my little humble country over here.
Yeah, man.
6 million of us nearly.
I never get to hear anything. I
Boys
wish
are going to school in skirts.
A primary school in Edinburgh has asked boys and male teachers to wear skirts for a day to promote gender equality. Well, it certainly got a mixed response from the parents.
Extremely creepy. So pleased I haven't got any children going to that school. Hope authorities are contacted about this disgusting decision.
My son goes to the school and decided he wanted to wear a skirt in support. This kid should be praised, not frowned on. I can't believe the vile single-minded comments that some people have made.
Thankfully, my kids are not part of your school. You should keep your deranged thoughts to yourself and not thrust them onto primary school children. Shameful behaviour.
Well done, Castleview. Proud of my daughter and her friends for asking for this. They are more mature than a lot of the narrow-minded hate thrown at them today. Brilliant school working towards teaching inclusivity for all.
As we can show you here on the program, several of the male teachers at Castleview School in Edinburgh went along with the idea. It was inspired by the Wear a Skirt to School Day in Spain, held as a protest after a 15-year-old Bilbao was expelled for wearing one. Castleview says it's all about freedom of expression.
We're keen to spread the message that clothes don't have a gender and that we should all be free to express ourselves as we choose.
However, Richard Lucas, the leader of the Scottish Family Party, believes the initiative will only increase the already large number of children suffering from gender confusion.
What's happening in Western culture at the moment is there is a move to see any gender distinction as a problem and to try and subvert it and to overcome it in one way or another. Now, as I say, whether or not the end result might be positive or negative, I feel it probably isn't positive in most cases. Trying to use children as part of that process at a stage where skirts are clearly seen as female clothing. So you're saying to a boy, basically dress as a girl. That's very unhelpful, because gender confusion is an epidemic.
Unhelpful?
There's a massive increase in the number of...
What triggered you there, Jim? What
no, dude,
I'm triggered you, dude?
No, see, I'm triggered by this whole thing, and I'd love to talk about it.
I get it.
The problem
There's probably people out there saying, but Kev, you're already a nation where men wear skirts. No, we wear kilts, and that's a male. That's for men, right? Look, I'm sorry if it triggers anyone that there's like things that
No,
men
man.
can wear and
Listen.
things that are seen as like female. I'm sorry, but I'm not playing your mental games.
This subject is really bad because here's the thing: is you and I, and we have no problem with people being gay or having whatever lifestyles they want to have.
Not,
so the
Jim.
problem, but here's what happens though in this kind of a conversation, because we support people's ability to have their own representation of a relationship in their own lives, doesn't mean that we're okay with social engineering children into being a different gender. That's a whole different thing. And so when we say something about it, we're in one of these conversations like, well, you're not for drunk driving, are you, Kev? You know, you're not for people dying of cancer, are you, Kev? You know, it's one of these kind of arguments. You know, let us do what we're gonna do because it's really gonna save this really small group of people over here. But we can't have these small group of people over here upset and not being able to live a full life.
Hold that thought. We're right on the break, man. Just as well I noticed there. We'll be back, folks. Don't go anywhere. There we go, Jimmy. There we go. Yes, we've got a couple of minutes. Yes.
You gonna play some music there, bud?
You want me to? You want a little PPP time?
Well, now I just gotta go in the other room and grab my soda.
I will play some music.
Play
some tunes, my man. Go for it.
Right on.
Here we go, folks. And I'm just gonna shove on the tunes we had. There we go. Couple of minutes, we'll be back before you know it. Boy, oh boy, this show is going in a totally different direction today. That's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. It's still random. And I tell you what, when you're talking about an epidemic of gender confusion, I think that qualifies as woo. There he is, the Jimbo's back. I'm here. We're just waiting to go back to the network, folks. Thank you all for tuning in today. Telling you, if it wasn't for you people out there, me and Jimmy could easily just be doing this in our own time, chilling out, kicking back. But listen, trust me, if it wasn't for you lot, we wouldn't be here. You lot, I like to think we're all kind of on the same page. We're all seeing the same problems. And hopefully, when we come on air, it makes you realise you're not alone. No, you're not going mad. There's a lot more people feeling the way that you're feeling. There we go. Our number 2 on today's Kev Baker show with a very, very impassioned and quite rightly so, Jimmy Jeans. And I am Kev Baker. Obviously, I am he, him. Yes, since it's gender day at the COP, I thought I'd throw my pronouns out there. And if you couldn't work out I was a he, him, there's something seriously wrong with you. Anywho, Jimmy, school in Edinburgh for a day, live a day in a skirt, dude. We've got to, just for, in the name of equality, man. I cut you off there because we came to the break. Any final thoughts or anything to add?
Yeah, no, I'll say, here's what I have to say about it. If that's where we are, so let's say there's that much of a segment of all the children in the room, in any given room, there's a certain segment of children in that room that would like to wear a dress, but they don't because there's stigma attached to it. So let's remove the stigma from wearing a dress if you want to, if you choose to, because that's what you choose to do. Let's be okay with that, and let's trust that people will get on whatever track they're going to get on for life. Some people go through phases. Like I've mentioned before, I had a friend whose son, he was into superheroes and stuff, and he liked to wear costumes, and he started wearing a lot of feminine type costumes, and they were worried about him or whatever. But he worked himself out. He figured himself out, and he grew up, and he is who he is. And so the thing is, in a learning environment like this, when we turn our children over to the government to raise them for us while we go slave away so we can give our taxes up, and so while we're out of the sight of our children, we've turned our children over to a group of people who on the people's level, as far as the teachers and stuff, that's not who I'm talking about. Who I'm talking about are the people that sit over the top of what this education system is, what's it's going to mean, and how do you need to train these children for the future world. And
the thing is, Jimmy, the thing is getting worse, right? Because we're starting to see now, like the next wave of teachers and people that they've kind of been indoctrinated through the education system, through universities that have got all woke. They've got their wokeisms, and they're the ones that are now in the classrooms, and you can see it all the time where you get teachers encouraging this kind of thing.
Well, I mean, it would say
it's like a system. It's a whole system they've got to.
It is, and an important fact that people should be aware of when they're like trying to look at something like this and figure out who's doing what is that the majority of unions and trade unions, for the most part, and also just unions like government unions, cities, counties like this, they go Democrat, and they have consistently through time. So unions have been broken down over the years. There's really not that many left, and the ones that are there, they mostly are doing a lot of rolling over for the government. Like the union that I was in, for whatever reason, they agreed to people having to take a piss test or whatever. You know what I mean? So I mean that is, if that's not an invasion of my rights, I don't know what is. And I mean, they could have stood their ground on that, but no, they went ahead with it. So these unions, anyway, the point is that there's a certain mentality that runs through a liberal sort of mindset, and there's a certain amount of trying to make up for what was deemed to be bad behavior on the part of white people. And so there's a lot of people got the right thing in mind. In other words, they feel bad about what happened to people in the past, and they want to make it right. But the only avenue they're given to make it right is by the demonization of a particular group of people, which is exactly the same thing that was done to those people. So I mean, the thing is that anytime you've been demonized and you know what that feels like, then what you should be doing anytime you have an opportunity, no matter what, is to make sure that nobody ever gets demonized again. Not, now I got power, so I'm going to do what you did to me to you. even though that 5-year-old girl over there didn't have anything to do with slaves. You know, it's not a blanket indictment over everybody. We were all fooled, man. This whole thing is a fucking plantation, man. We're all slaves, man. Okay? There's some middle managers, but really, you know, there's just one person at the top somewhere, whoever that is. But it's all, I mean, everything here, everything we're doing, none of this makes sense from a civilizational standpoint.
Well, let's go to the chats, right? Because we've got Bam over in TFR chat.
Yeah.
Totally agrees with you. Says Jimmy is right. USA is going down and the masses can't even open their eyes. And my good friend ZX, he's almost like, it's like ZX is kind of like my brain in a jar. We agree on so many things because when I look at this, they called it the epidemic of gender confusion and all this stuff going on. And I take the angle towards what a very clever way to tie in with any depopulation agendas that may be out there. And ZX, he says, it's all about population control. If it can't breed, it can't fill the planet. And I know we talked about this on a recent show as well, but Brave New World, you know, there was a recent adaptation of that on TV over here. And you've got the incubators, right? The incubator factories and things like that. You kind of win a raffle from the state if you're going to get a child. I'm not saying it's going to go totally that way, but if everyone ended up going the way that schools are trying to program them, it would have to, right?
Well, I just saw an ad yesterday for the new, I won't mention the name of the hotel. And there's a couple of guys, you know, coming in. I guess they were partners, you know, life partners. And they're cruising in. They had a baby. One guy had a baby in his arm. The other guy was carrying the bags. And they just cruised in. And as they walked by the front desk, the light-skinned black dude waved his hand and smiled as they walked by. And then they walked on by their door. And then they, the dude, one of the guys with a smarmy look on his face, he pulls out his phone. And he just opens the door, and they go inside, and they have their child there. So what I inferred from the ad was that maybe these two guys. I mean, this is what I'm saying. I was decoding the ad as I was watching. It's like, what am I supposed to be seeing here? So I see them walk in. They're clearly a gay couple to me. I mean, it's clearly represented as a gay couple, which is nothing wrong with that. And they have a baby, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is it was shown just casually, you know, hey, just on TV, just like mom washing the dishes or somebody making some toast. So, I mean, it's clear that, you know, we're in a different world than we were in. In other words, in my day, and I'm not saying anything about it, I'm just saying back in my day, and this is why things are the way they are. Because people that were, if you came to my school in a dress, you would have gotten a beating, man. Okay? And that's what used to happen to people that were gay, is that if they let anybody else know that they were gay, or they came out and they were themselves in a normal group of people, the way society was set up, they were ridiculed, they were beaten up, they were, you know, made, you know, all this. And so there was a stigma attached to it. And so they had to be in the closet. Okay. So we don't have to be in the closet anymore. And so now everybody can be everybody. And so the thing is removing stigma is what we want to do, but pointing fingers at people and making them the scapegoat for the stigma is not real. You know, I know a lot of people, man, and I don't know anybody who's racist at all. I mean, everybody makes jokes about stereotypes in every race. There's nobody who's clean on that. You know, everybody does what they do. And that's just normal. We're all tribal. It's not bad to notice the difference of another tribe. It's not bad for another tribe to have customs that don't fit in with your lifestyle. Thing is that making everybody included is, in other words, hey, Kev, I know you love haggis, bro. You know, eat your haggis, you know. I don't like it, but you eat it. And it's okay for you to have a community here in my country where people from Scotland enjoy their haggis.
I have had unfortunately, Jimmy, I must admit, I have had the misfortune, not many, but I've met a few people who I would deem racist to been the point of being evil to the core, you know. Not many. Don't get me wrong. Like you say, it's one thing to have a laugh and a joke and things like that, but like proper hardcore. Yeah, unfortunately, one or two.
Do you think the word that we should be using is not racist, but it should be prejudice? In other words, prejudice, to prejudge somebody. Like I say, we're tribal. We're gonna notice different things about the other tribes, but to have a bad attitude about the other tribe and then act accordingly, like not hire somebody from that tribe.
Sometimes I think we get too caught up in what words we should be using for things. In the end of the day, we know what we're talking about, right? Whether you call it prejudice, racist. But I get what you're saying. You are right. And I think it's almost like there's a part of the human programming that's inclined towards prejudice, you know? Even the best of us are guilty of doing it sometimes. I know I do it sometimes. You probably have at times, Jimmy. Everyone's kind of inclined that way, and that comes from programming. It comes from the way we're brought up. It comes from our environment around us.
Because we used to only know what we would either experience from ourselves or have somebody else tell us what they experienced, and that would be the only way to know what another culture is. And so when we come in contact, like say for example, the big war on terror, you come in contact with that, right? So you don't really know much about the Muslim culture at all. At the point that you all of a sudden become aware of it, you're just some guy walking around. You didn't know anything before. Now all of a sudden, you're aware of it, but everything that they tell you about it are all things that are going to make you angry towards that particular group of people. Because they have to inflame you to make you an enemy, so you can go fight it. You see, and so like that's what I mean. The energy comes behind fighting the enemy and creating some rag doll that you hang up in front of some people that triggers them. The trigger doll. You just put it up there and shake it. You can do it, man. Get a trigger doll. Here's one, Soros. Put it up there, shake it, man. You trigger all kinds of people. Put up Bill Gates, shake it.
He's definitely one of the ones that they use, man.
I know, but you look at him, man. He's a decrepit piece of crap old man, man. He doesn't do anything except sit there in his poop until somebody changes his diapers. The whole world is moving forward, and these old enemies are just sitting there meanwhile, there's a bunch of young bucks down there that you never heard of that are creating your future every single day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And one of them will get to play the role of Soros 20 years down the line.
Who knows? I mean, at this point, some of the stuff we've been looking at recently, I wouldn't doubt him, uploading his memories to the cloud or whatever. At this point.
Oh, that would be no, man. The clone army, the Soros clone army.
You know what? I want to talk about this on your show. I have not brought this up, but there's a concept, man, that hit me the other day, and I haven't talked about it anywhere else. I just want to bring it up here now.
Hold on tight, folks. Put on the seatbelts. We're about to go for a ride. Come on,
I'm telling you, seriously. Now, so I saw this article about this company, okay, from another country. That's selling a bunch of robots over into America that are being used in these different aspects. So what I was thinking was myself is like, what a perfect plot. You could have your robot army that you build these robots and they seem like they just do one thing, and you could have all the thousands of these robots all over America, robots bought from another country, bought from some company. Whatever. They didn't know over here. Here's the robots. All of a sudden, robots turn from making your lunch to with a submachine gun and a whatever. You see what I mean? It's a trip to think that a company who owned robots could take those robots for whatever task.
You said earlier on. Think about earlier on in the conversation. And it's a conversation that's been rumbling along for a while now. I think Greta even mentioned it in one of her speeches over here about police and people shouting about getting rid of the police, getting rid of things like that. I often wonder about the whole kind of iRobot scenario type thing, them just rolling out the bots one day.
Snitch bots.
Just rolling them out on the streets, you know.
Oh, you
I
know
don't know,
what?
dude. I don't know. If we're
I've
gonna
talked
go full
about it.
sci-fi world, maybe that will be the next thing.
Well,
right?
I've talked about it, man. You don't even have to go sci-fi world. You want to hear? I'll give you a
It's
scenario.
what I call one vision of the future, dude. It's my own little brain thing.
Well, I'll give you a game.
That's what-
I'll give you a game theory scenario, man. Here's how it's gonna look. Okay, here's how it'll work. A white semi truck will pull up. You know, no writing on the back of the truck on the trailer. There'll be no writing. Then 2 or 3 vans will pull up, and these vans will have dishes or antennas on top. And what they'll do is they'll kick on the subsonic harassment, and everybody within a mile radius will start to get sick and feel sick to their stomach. They'll feel dizzy. They'll feel weak. They'll have to get on their hands and knees. And after about 3 or 4 minutes of this, the rear door of that semi will open up. And when it does, it's going to be a bunch of those robots you've seen over at Boston Dynamics. Those dogs, you know. There's going to be them dogs. There's going to be those other robots that are doing dancing and somersaults. And they're just going to come up to the house, and they're going to scan through the walls with their ultra-wideband, because you can see through walls with it. And they're going to have their ultra-wideband scanner, and they're going to scan through your walls to see exactly where your guns are. They're going to go over there. They're going to grab your guns. They're going to put some tie wraps on your hands. And then they're going to send in the cleanup robots to come around and pick all you people up and take you down to the camps. No, I'm just kidding.
I hope so, dude. Imagine it turned out like that. That's not the way we want it to end up, folks. Definitely not. No.
No, it's just like there ain't this man. Let me just tell you. I'll tell you right now. If you're
That sounds along the lines of. I tell you what, dude. You better like I don't know how you trademark an idea like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if when Black Mirror comes back, that wouldn't be an episode in it.
Hey man, all I know, dude,
is Black Mirror over there. I know you're one of these people who chuck the TV out, right?
I don't. I've brought stuff up like twice in the last week, and Epic Journeyman's like, yeah, there was an episode of Black Mirror. There's an episode of Black Mirror. I go, hey, it's trippy. Every time I bring something up, there's an episode of Black Mirror. I've never even seen the thing. So
Black Mirror's awesome.
Maybe me and Black Mirror are just like connected, somehow. I don't know, but I'll tell you this: everything that I just said is technically possible. So the thing is, what I wanted to bring up to you, if you bought yourself a 22 or you went out and got yourself a gun and some bullets and stuff, and you're sitting up in your 1-bedroom apartment, thinking that it's going to be 1776 or whatever. I just want to tell you, man, you might want to double think that. Is all I'm trying to tell you. You might want to double think that. And the other thing I wanted to tell you is, from what I hear, those dogs, those running dogs, they can't see fishing line. Just a word to the wise. in case it goes full Mad Max, you'll know how to get around those dog robots. You throw.
Not only will we run out of toilet paper, we'll be running out of fishing line, dude.
I know. Well, hey man, this dystopic idea, there's plenty of fodder for it. Just because that's where we are. I mean, like I was saying earlier, there's so much stuff that comes at us on a daily basis. There's absolutely no way for us to. The thing is, there isn't anybody who's smart enough to sit someplace and say, hey, slow that down a minute. We might want to take a look at the, health effects of that particular technology on the population. Seriously. So, I mean, hey, let me just explain something just because. I mean, we got 10 minutes. I'll tell you this. Look, I was in the business of putting systems in buildings for, a good decade. And before that, I was doing it for other people. But the point is that there came a moment when I was doing wireless, okay? I had moved away from cable, moved away from fiber. I moved away from those types of systems, and I went specifically into wireless. And there was this moment where I was sat down with the main person for the county of Monterey, and they wanted to put wireless in all these schools. And I could have sold the guy in that moment. I went out to lunch with him or whatever. I could have sold him, but to me, I was thinking to myself, man, I don't want to go down this whole road because I know as soon as I start going to do this, it's good. The parents are gonna go berserk, and it ain't gonna happen. You know, it's not right for to have this in with the kids, and I don't think the parents are gonna go for it. So I was thinking, this is what I'm thinking to myself at the meeting. It's not right. You know, you don't want this in there. So you know, I obviously I didn't put a bid in on the job, and they ended up putting wireless in all the schools, and actually. One of the groups of parents found out that there was a cell tower behind this school, and they went to court and all this, and they were actually able to get it out. But the thing is there was a moment when you could have got it out, okay? And the reason the school districts do it, it's not because it's the best technology out there. It's because, and it's the reason that I made so much money when I had my company, is because people want to install wireless because they think it's cheaper than putting wires in everywhere. Okay? And the fact of the matter is, I got paid 3 times more to put wireless in because it's invisible, man. You know, you got to know how to make it work. You need a $65,000 piece of equipment just to see it. You know, so the thing is, it's not less money, but the thing is the kind of money that we've spent in these schools that gets wasted. I'll tell you, I've done schoolwork. My whole union career, I've done schoolwork because the unions are, the schools are unions, so they got to hire union contractors. They hire these contractors. I've gone and installed systems in school, after school, after school, after school, after school for a decade. Okay? The stuff they're putting in there, it's not that good. You could literally have a fiber optic cable going to every single desk port for your child without having that wireless blasting through their skull. But they don't. Because you know why? Because anybody who knew anything about it, okay, the people that had facts or the people that had push or influence, they were running around talking about mind control and shit. Okay? All you had to do was go in there and tell them it's bad for your child. That, you know, hey, man, the skull's not formed till you're 7 years old. You don't want wireless blasting everywhere. And, you know, they got a belt. You know, let me just say, it's high power. Okay? It's high power, ladies and gentlemen, because it has to go through the whole school, it has to go through the walls, you know, So, I mean, go walk around with a meter in one of your schools and see what kind of stuff's going around your child. You know, I'm just saying, it's for the children, right? So, yeah, there's the bullhorns of the limit for the system, all right? You want to protect the children, right? So there you go, protect them. You don't want wireless in your schools, protect them. You don't want healthy children being vaccinated for no reason. Protect the children, ladies and gentlemen. Isn't that what they always say? It's for the children. Well, there you go. It's for the children. You know? I mean, if you can't stand up for that, what do you know? These people in Monterey did it. They got that thing out of there. You know, there's this thing where if there's just so you know this, because we're coming up on the break, if there's a thing out there that says if there's already existing infrastructure. So in other words, say they got those high tension lines going through those high power lines running through your place there, your city or wherever. Anywhere there's a pole or a tower from electrical that already exists, by law, they're allowed to put their cell site stuff on there. By law. So, you know, it is really hard to get that stopped. It's not that hard to get it out of your school. And, you know, your child should have every ability to have the biggest brain they can, you know, and not the ones that are being bombarded, you know, with all kinds of electromagnetic soup all day long, you know, and then come home and then sleep next to the router or whatever.
No, it's making everyone gender confused in schools, Jimmy.
I know, man, it is. I mean, I know I'm confused.
There's boys running about in skirts. It's only one school in Scotland, folks, but it was still enough to kick me over the edge.
Yeah, but we talked about that.
Oh boy!
We talked about that article on Extra the other day, where it was they did a poll, and it was in the millennial generation that 30% of millennials identify as LGBTQ. So that is a big segment of the population. And I'm just saying, from a marketing perspective, if you're sitting over the top of the population, you want to sell, you want to do something, you want to make money, you see that 30% is there. That's a big chunk. That means if 3 people are sitting there, one of them in there is LGBTQ. Okay, if you got 100, if you're in a room with 100 people, there you go. 33 and a third of those people are, in that 30%. So I mean, it's a a demographic. Did you know that the biggest, we talked about this too, but I'll bring it up here for this audience, is that the biggest demographic that has the most disposable income, it's gay men. Gay men have the most disposable income.
If anyone wants to dispose of any income my way, I've got a PayPal you can happily visit. But we're on the break. That's why I jumped in there, Jimmy.
Yeah,
we're on
sure.
the break. We'll be back with the final segment, and I'm going to be covering a story from Scotland about a guy who I think had the right idea a very, very long time ago. Get yourself right off the grid. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. There we go, man. There we go. I'll shove on some tunes. We can get some coffee and PPP time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed. I hope you are all having a good day out there, wherever you are. A lot of people over in Discord. A lot of people. We're down to 4 people on Twitch right now. We're also over on Odyssey. Not checked that one.
Well, see, that's the thing about this. Somebody's bringing it up in the chat about, wearing a dress or whatever. It's like, that's the thing. What's getting confused here is not that we don't want people to be able to wear a dress if they want to, but what we don't want is them to make everybody have to wear a dress. I mean, it's like, okay, I'm just saying, listen, it's like being in prison and having the guy you're in prison with tell you better sit down to pee from now on.
Biden's going to come and make you wear a dress, folks. I'm telling you, that's the next thing. We'll be right back. There we go. We are back with the final segment of today's Kev Baker show. Yes, indeed. It was an entirely different show I had all planned out, but like I say, I was late coming to the PC. I seen Jimmy was at a loose end, so we got together and I honed in on Jimmy's feelings and emotions that he's feeling today. And boy, oh boy, has this transpired into a good show. I'm going to give Jimmy a little break now. And I'm going to cover a story from Scotland. And I'm intending on opening up every show with at least one story from Scotland from now on. Because a lot of the other stuff going on in the world dominates the news, obviously. And me being in Scotland, I can bring you a little taste of what happens here. But it's something a little different today. And after the conversation we've had, I mean, I was already thinking that this guy we're about to talk about in a minute had the right idea. But I really am convinced now that maybe he had the right idea a long, long time ago, and maybe he foreseen a time like this coming. And what I'm talking about is this here. It says a real-life Scots hermit has been living off the grid in the Highlands for over 40 years. Now, I read this earlier on. It's actually an interesting article, and I'll get your thoughts on this after this, Jimmy, right? It says Ken Smith is known globally as the Hermit of Traig, and he has been living off the grid in the Scottish Highlands for more than 40 years. The 74-year-old, who is originally from Derbyshire, which is down in England for people who don't know, decided to live life, as he says, on his own terms after returning from the Yukon in his mid-30s. Now, Ken walked from Heathrow Airport to an isolated woodland north of Fort William, where he decided to set up home miles from civilization in an area where there is no electricity and no phone signal. So the hermit, who lives in a cabin he built by himself and survives on food that he has foraged and fished, is the subject of a BBC documentary. It transpires that when I went to air tonight at 10 p.m. in the UK, that's when the documentary was on. So I'm going to be watching it to see more in depth what this is about. But it says, having made contact with him 9 years ago, director Lizzie McKenzie finally convinced him to let her film 2 years, or let her film him 2 years ago. Within that period, Ken's life changed dramatically. In winter, he suffered a stroke and was airlifted by mountain rescue after an alert was sent out on a GPS tracker that had been given days before. Ken ended up in hospital for 7 weeks, during which he had to rebuild his strength, and is now facing a tough decision about whether he will be able to live out his last years in the wilderness that he calls home. There's a picture of him here, and he stood there in front of his little log cabin that he's built. It looks as happy as happy can be. It says it's a 3-hour trek to Ken Smith's cabin, and one I know very well now after countless trips to film the man known locally as the Hermit. There's a particular feeling which comes over me in the final hour of hiking to this isolated highland woodland. What is this feeling? It isn't just one sensation, but rather it feels like a lifting of a blanket that gives way to a range of subtle and diverse feelings. It was a sense that I hadn't really been feeling anything much at all. An hour into the walk, there's a certain anxiety as the phone signal disappears. There is news I'm following, people I'm messaging, and what if something important happens the very second I step over that invisible threshold into the land of no signal? I can only describe it as a growing awareness of something like a grip, a pressure, covering me in its entirety. It had totally escaped my awareness until I noticed it dissipating. It grips and pulls, but then something happens. I notice the feeling of the sun on my skin. I catch sight of a large bird overhead in my peripheral vision. An eagle, perhaps. The grip releases. I can almost feel each organ in my body let out a sigh of relief. Energy flows through me unhindered as I attune to the world around me. It didn't take me long to understand why Ken Smith had decided to become what we call a hermit. Ken was not much older than I am now, and he decided to step away from any sort of conventional life. For 40 years, he has lived a life of solitude and simplicity. No electricity, no phone signal, on the banks of a remote loch in the Scottish Highlands. I met him for the first time when I was a curious 22-year-old and grew up quickly, enchanted by his stories of adventure, struggle, love, and loss. Looking back now, the impact of encountering Ken had on me at the time was striking. I was spending my 20s trying to follow the expected trajectory of studies, career, and a gradual accumulation of things I thought I needed in order to be successful and happy. Encountering Ken and the sparkle in his eyes woke up a hunger for something different in me. I wrote to Ken for 7 years before we decided to make a film together. Initially, I set out to make a short portrait film about his atypical life. But only 10 days after I began filming him, he suffered from a stroke and had to be airlifted to hospital. The film therefore took on a whole new focus as Ken had to choose between the safety and comfort of town or the wilderness that he calls home. Life in the woods is tough, and Ken's days are filled with the challenge of survival. Food, water, heating, shelter, all require constant work and constant participation in the cycles of life and death. There's a rawness to it, a truth to it. On each filming trip, I'd spend 3 to 5 days living with Ken in the woods, observing, talking, not talking, feeling. Ken has expertly honed the skill of comfortable silence. There's no extraneous chatter. Those stories would flow alongside his homemade wine. As I travelled back home, I noticed the feeling creep back on me, that grip of civilization. After half a day of being back in the concrete world, I'd feel back to normal, except that I know deep in my bones that this feeling is not normal. I realise now that my body has built its defence system back up, numbing itself against everything going on. In civilization, our senses have to be dulled down in order for us to function. Ken Smith has been classed a hermit in the media and in his local Highland area for a long time. What strikes me about him and the other so-called hermits I've come across is that they don't so much want to be away from people as they want to be away from the system that it's necessary to buy into if you want to be a part of society. The system that kills our senses hardens our hearts, and it destroys the natural world. With this new normal that we're moving into, my hope is that we can prioritize our relationship to nature over business as usual. Of course, I'm not struggling we all become I'm not suggesting we all become full-blown hermits. But I do believe that we're all in search of peace and that perhaps there is a little bit of a hermit inside all of us. Jimmy, back there, getting off the grid, getting out of the system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it ties in with everything we've kind of been talking about tonight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this guy here, he didn't give up on people. It's not that he doesn't like people. I'm looking at a picture of him right now, and not a happier man have I seen in a long time.
Yeah, man.
You know, back to basics, dude. I know it can be hard and maybe even impossible. I mean, I can't, in my situation, I've got a family. Anne and Kevin ain't going to move out into the woods with me and fish all day and build their own cabin and things, right? We've all got our own things going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you what, dude, there's something about getting out of this system, about being in harmony with the planet. And I know that sounds all new agey and love and light, but it's not.
It doesn't.
It's what we need to be doing, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, see, this is the big lie, see? See, the civilization we're living in would be a completely different one if everyone knew that all they had to do was find a little piece of land, build themselves a house, and then live in it from then on. And, you know, you're not paying anybody anything. You don't have to come out of your money pocket and, you know, throw your gold down. You know, the thing is, though, see, that doesn't work for the system. The system has to keep us chasing this thing that we can't afford. So we stay on the rat wheel, you know, and we run that, you know, just imagine, imagine a rat wheel, you know, with a rat on it. Imagine if you, when that rat was running, it was generating electricity. And then that electricity was powering up Bill Gates' Tesla over there at the COP, you know, because that's really where we're at. I mean, once we get on the treadmill of renting lifestyle that's being shoved down our throats as the example of success. But see, the example of success, you know, I mean, for example, Malcolm X, he was talking about sitting on the bus, and he's like, see, he said where he went the other direction of Martin Luther King was, he said, I'm not about sitting on the bus. Where I sit on the bus, he said, I want to own the bus company. Okay, I want to be the owner of the bus company. See, so I mean, it's just, you know, the matter of where you want to be is you know, where you can be. You know, it's not. I guess, you know, small steps, Kev, are better than nothing. But you know, obviously, all we really have to do is put a roof over our head, be able to provide for ourselves in some kind of way. And I mean, if there was ever a time where you could get away and get off the grid, there's so many pieces of technology that have been developed, you know, over the past decade or so. I mean, there's solar cells now that once they're charged, they're like it's like a battery box with wheels on it. And once it's charged up, I mean, when the sun goes down, you're gonna have power, unlimited power coming out of this battery box. At this point, you could literally move off the grid right now, go find some really cheap piece of land, and move off. Here, I'll give the listeners a thing. There's this thing called Billy Land. Okay, I'm not associated with it, and it's not Billy Ray Valentine's either. But there's a thing called Billy Land, and you can go there and buy land for almost nothing, literally. And if you have no credit, don't worry about it. You can go there, and all you have to do is bid on the down payment for it. So, like, you know, in some cases it's a couple $100, man. And you can see where they are. You know, you can pick where you want. I mean, it's literally it's all over the United States. You can buy a small piece of land right now if you really wanted to. You know, and at the point you have a piece of land, then from there it's all, you know, everything's gravy. Because all you have to do is spend 20 minutes on the internet and go look at all these unboxing videos of all this different technology that's out there. Like, one thing I found, I found these solar panels for $50 a piece, and for like $800 you'd have 3 kW of solar power. So for $800 you'd have this solar array. You know, for another $600 you buy one of these battery boxes I'm talking about. And the rest of it, you know, what are you going to build a fire? I mean, at the point that you have that stuff that you need, I think society would have moved in a whole different direction at that point. If everybody was self-sufficient, like you're talking about, Kev, everybody's off the grid. Because at the point then, I mean, days go by, like have you ever gone camping, Kev, you know, out in the mountains, just sitting there for like a week or something?
As an ex-soldier, yes, I do like camping, dude. Yeah.
All right, well, I mean, so time doesn't just fly by, man. When you're out in the mountains and you don't have any of this stuff, like none of it, like books, let's just say you didn't have any of it, no books, no way to divert your attention from anything else but what was going on for you in that particular moment. Man, the days just go by forever and ever, man. I swear, if you lived...
Jimmy, you didn't even, like, where I grew up, like in Fort Augustus, with a population of 800. It's like Brigadoon anyway. I used to call it the place that time forgot. It was like, you know, you could basically call it like living off the grid. Because, an example, at the time when I was growing up, there was like 3 channels in the UK, and then Channel 4 came along, right? Channel 4 would be everywhere, apart from where I lived, because we were in in a glen, and there was big hills on one side, big hills on the other side. Totally cut off from, it felt like you were totally removed from a lot of the things you'd be watching on the news about what was going on in big cities and Like I said, it was like a little interdimensional pocket that just kind of got left alone. I don't know what it's like now. Last time I went up there, it's definitely changed. There's a lot more people living there now. But the Scottish Highlands, that was a pretty rustic and rural beginnings I had, dude. It was almost like being off the grid, you know?
And you find people that are in those scenarios that we're talking about where they're self-sufficient, they're growing vegetables, they have chickens, they got this, that, the other thing, or whatever. But those communities are very generous to people that don't have something because they have more than they can have for themselves. You know, these are communities that, you know, will always help each other. Everybody's got a little piece of the pie, you know.
They are, because I remember, you know, at times there'd be a time of the year when you would know it would be venison time. The local hunters and things, they would come back and they'd have the venison. It'd be getting passed around in the pubs, or they'd come around the houses with it in the back of the truck and things like that. Far removed from what I was seeing, even in the nearest town to me, which was Inverness. You know, we were still like leaving our doors open and things up in Fort Augustus. Didn't have to lock the door because everyone knew everyone. There wasn't any like breaking in or anything like that. It was a different level of. It was like old world. Like I say, the place that time forgot, Jimmy. And I expect a lot of rural communities, whether you're in Scotland or anywhere in the world, are kind of like that. Maybe not so much now, but back in the 80s anyway.
See, those social ideas and those values have been socially engineered out of us by the behavior modification complex. Because the only thing that keeps everything moving is nothing moves until something's sold, man. And, you know, on this constant treadmill of consumption is what makes the whole world go round. Okay, when America stops, you know, consuming like it does, everything comes to a complete halt. Or does it? I mean, they don't need us anymore. You know, and like I said, I mean, you know, everything, the industrial capacity of our country has been moved offshore. So, hey, there's never been a time when you could take advantage of a situation, which is like right now. If you ever thought about it before, maybe now's the time because, you know, you have internet access in all these different places that you didn't have it before, 3D printers. You've learned about geodesic domes and you figured out about aquaponics. You know, you've seen how you can raise clean food under the dome for yourself without any particulates, any weird metals or anything floating around in your vegetables. You know?
All right, Extendovite will remove those
heavy metals.
Very stubborn heavy metals.
There you
yes,
go.
Indeed. Big shout to our friend Don.
Yeah, man.
Don
Hey,
Wiskin
Don.
at Extendovite. Yes, indeed.
When's he going to be around next, man? I got to make sure I'm here when he comes by.
I always line it up for a Wednesday now.
Good,
so
good.
you'll be there, dude.
Definitely.
You'll be there. What have we got planned for tomorrow night, man? We've got like 10 minutes left now, 9 minutes. Anything on the horizon yet?
I have no plan.
Shall just
I'll
do
be
a
honest.
stream of consciousness and see where we end up, man.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll try to come up with a plan between now and then.
No, don't plan anything, man. Plans. Yeah, you're best just doing it the way we done it today.
How about
We'll
this?
just go organic. One link each, and we'll take it from there.
I got a good one. How about 5 ideas that could change the world? How about that? I know.
All right, I'm into that.
Okay, I'm coming back tomorrow with 5 ideas.
I better
that
write
change-
it down. I better write it down, or I'll forget about that, dude.
Yeah, 5 ideas that'll change the world tomorrow on the Kev Baker Show. I'll be here. Don't you worry about it, man. And I'll think about it. I'll think on it all night, and I'll come up with a good 5.
There you go. 5 ideas that can change the world.
Today.
There you go.
Make sure you don't forget the today part.
Stock up on toilet paper.
Now, see, you know, that's always the thing. It's always, you know, there's always the be back bus. You know, I'll be back tomorrow. You know, when I sold cars for a bit when I was in my 20s, and when I first got into it, man, they used to say to me, "Let's go, Jimmy. Let me tell you something, Sonny. The be back bus never comes back." Because everybody, when they're coming to a car lot, you know, and they step on the lot, and you trying to start selling them a car, you know, they act like they don't want to buy a car, you know, and then when it gets to the crucial moment, they go, "Well, I'll tell you what, I'll be back tomorrow. I'm gonna go talk to my wife."
I took Anne with me.
Did
I
you?
took Anne with me. Yeah, of course, dude. 18 minutes from start to finish, man.
Well, you know why
From walking into leaving the place, 18 minutes. All I had to interact with this young man.
Well, you know
Yep.
why I was the #1 salesman in my dealership?
Best liar?
No, because when
No?
a guy said no, I didn't lie. That was one thing I never did. But
Usually car dealers do tend to like
Nah.
over-egg it. That's why I said it.
I didn't have to lie, man. I mean, I sold cars just because, hey, it was
Was
like
it just your dashing good looks
just
and
like
you look
hang-
like trustworthy?
yeah, but it was just like hanging out on your show. I mean, if at the end of your show, if the whole time I was here, you were here because you were buying a car, you'd buy a car just because hey, you hung out with me, it was fun, and hey, boom, you're in a car. Anyways, why was I telling you this whole car thing? I was telling you
I
this
can't remember, dude. I can't remember.
No, I was telling you this for a reason. Oh, because the be-back bus never comes back. That's why. And and I was going to tell you why I was the #1 salesman is because when the guy said to me, Jimmy, I'll be back tomorrow. I gotta go talk to my wife, and I go, oh really? Well, your wife's the decision maker.
Oh, you gender shamed him, man. you can't even get away with that nowadays, right?
Well, yeah. Well, maybe she is. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying, more than one person stuck around and bought a car that day, but that's because they met a salesman, man.
There you go. Yeah.
That's what happens. Like I said earlier, nothing moves until something's sold, man. And we're being sold, ladies and gentlemen. Every one of us, every single day, we're being marketed to. And now it's to the point where it's micro-marketing to the point where they literally market directly to you based on your little idiosyncrasies. Like if you like big butts or whatever. It's like all the models and the ads that pop up on the side of how big butts to get you to click on.
You don't have money to buy any of the things that pop up on the ads. Who cares? Get an ad blocker.
But if you got an ad blocker, you wouldn't see the big butts.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joshing, anyways. But anyhow, whoa, 2 hours has gone by pretty damn quick around here, didn't it?
Like the blink of an eye, my man. What you got planned for Into the Microcosm? What's coming up next?
Tonight, Doc McCarran usually joins us on Tuesday night, so I'm under the impression he will be with us tonight.
Yeah, I heard him on his stream last night. I think he said he'd be with you. He's going to be with me in a couple of weeks, I believe. Tell the doc I was asking for him.
I will. He talks about you all the time, man.
The doc, it was like one of those. I think, he got educated in Edinburgh, so he's had that bit of a Scottish thing. He knows where I'm coming from. He knows the type of person I am. Plus, at the same time, he's like a squaddy brat. His dad was in I think it was the army. He was in army or Air Force, quite high up as well. So I know his mindset. And the minute we got talking, just like a house on fire, dude. Like an absolute house on fire. It's like a friend I hadn't met yet. That's all it was. Love the doc. Absolutely love the doc. And I smile. I smile, because here we are 2 years into this craziness that brought me, you, and the doc together. And all the time I'm seeing confirmations of what Doc McCairn has been saying all along. And it might take a while. It might take some time for mainstream things to catch up. But I tell you what, man, him and a couple of others have kept me very, very well informed of the situation. So I want to give a big shout out to Doc McCairn over there in Japan. And of course, he's the most based neuroscientist in the world. He's not everyone's cup of tea. But for me, I think he's hilarious, man. He's old school. It's like,
I love
just
the
way
doc,
I think about the world, He's crazy.
I can't say enough about him, man. And let me just say, he's put everything on the line for the benefit of everybody else.
Oh, it's not even on the line. It's gone. Like he had to make a decision where his career, his reputation in neuroscience, and by the way, you can go and check it out. He was boffin level, and because of what he was seeing in the world, he just couldn't take it anymore. And he knows for a fact now that's blacklisted him. He's blackballed. He ain't getting any institutions to work for. He ain't getting any grants to do the kind of things he wants to do now. And that's the kind of level of commitment that you got. Even if you don't agree with him, you got to take your hat off.
It's because he has.
Got to take your hat off. Yeah, because of what he believed in and what he was seeing. I Like I say, even if you don't agree with him, I admire that level of
Well, I mean,
balls.
yeah, it's not it's really what what he's bringing to the table isn't really a matter of agreement. It's a matter of him presenting information. And the other thing is he has children. And he's doing everything he's doing for your children. He's trying to warn you about what he's finding for your children. That's why my hackles are up today about this, man, because I keep seeing this stuff, this news, and it's bothering me that it's happening. Especially when here he is, he's presented the evidence. All you have to do is take the simplest form of what the doc has found, and that's enough. You don't have to get it all weird with 5G and all that. All you have to do is show that there's dirty stuff in there. It's not made clean because it was rushed. You don't know what's floating in there. That's all you need to say.
We have got 20 seconds left, dude, before the audience accuse me of cutting you off. I'm going to be back tomorrow, same time, same place, with the same guy. Until then, keep it real, keep your minds open, but not to the point where your brain falls out or it turns to black goo. And wherever you are, make it TFR and Denny, touch that dial. And just like that, the show was over. 2 hours gone in the blink of an eye. So I'll play about... Well, we're just going to end it here on Twitch and Odyssey. Thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for joining us. I'll say my Cheerios to the disco crowd in just a moment. But Jimmy, thank you for another fine 2 hours of conversation. Yes, indeed. And remember, you can catch Jimmy over on his YouTube channel on Aftermath FM as well. And Doc McCairn will be joining me on KBS Extra. Not this Saturday on Aftermath, but next Saturday. So that's 2 weeks we'll have the doc. This Saturday coming up, we've got Stephen Cambion, Truth Seeker. He's going to be coming on to KBS Extra. So lots more coming your way. Never a dull moment here when I'm around. Definitely never a dull moment when Jimmy's around. And I think to finish off today's show with the passion that Jimmy was displaying, I think it was up there on a par with my good friend GD Bakshi.
Our battle was in defense of the hallowed tenets of liberty, fraternity, equality before the law. The liberty of a citizen cannot be so easily taken away and trifled with. If you are doing your duty to stand up for the truth, you cannot be muzzled. You cannot be threatened. You cannot be intimidated. A whole slew of cases cannot be put against you. We will fight and we will die if we have to. The truth will prevail.
Keep it real, folks. We're out of here. There we go. Now we're still on with the Disco Warriors. Warriors you are. We had a lot more in earlier. We've lost a few now because it's the end, but we've got Jason still, Jazzy, Jocelyn, Josie, Luna, Sailor, Jim, Tessa, the Wookiee, ZX. Great to have you all here. Jason must be sitting with a hard-on because there was communists, there was killer robots. Jason, dude, it was like a show that was scripted for you, man. I'm telling you. So, Jimmy, thank you for today, and I'm sure you can let the disco people know when you're on next, man.
Tonight at 10:30. You guys can broadcast my show in there if you want. I mean, I don't know if you do, but if you want to, I mean,
10:30. It's like 6:30 a.m. I'm usually just getting to bed then.
Yeah. So
because my body clock is absolutely carfunkled.
I know. You know what? I'm really excited, man. I found this shit today for my dog. Apparently, dogs can get this yeast infection, like where they overproduce yeast, and it causes issues with their ears. And my dog's got an issue with his ear. And like this dude literally described, like he's like, I found this shit coming out of my dog's ear or whatever, and it was this and it was that, and he's like, there was video of his dog like rubbing his ear on the carpet and shit, and like my dog scratches his ears all the time, and I don't know what to do to fix it, And I saw this stuff today, so I ordered it, man. It's gonna come, so hopefully it's gonna help, man. I'm so excited that it may cure one of the problems that my dog has that really causes him issues, man.
No, that'd be awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That will be awesome.
Yeah, man.
The Wookiee, he gets his new kitten on Friday, I think it is, and I hope your kitten brings you even half as much joy as my Susie did, Wookiee. So I look forward to hearing how you and the kitten get on. But we are going to take our leave now.
All right,
I don't know
everybody.
if there's any chatting over in Disco afterwards, but